Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Sorry the stream is late. Had some stuff going on. Let me get into how do I get the view to full screen? Not that it's going to make a super big difference. There we go. This is Tome of Beasts I from the folks over at Kobold Press. They were kind enough to send it to me. I had connected with Kobold Press. Maybe definitely at the last PAX Unplugged. I might have talked to them somewhat before that, but I believe at the last PAX Unplugged, I had a nice conversation with somebody who was there manning the booth, and we exchanged information. And with a lot of these things, you don't understand, or understand is not the quite word. You never know how these conversations are going, or where it's going to lead, if anywhere. So I got some information. I followed up on it a little bit later. I'm trying to get better at the following up part. I'm kind of terrible at it. Followed up with them on a few things, and then found myself getting an email from them last week that said, "Hey, I was on this kind of digital reviewer list," which allowed me to go ahead and grab this Tome of Beasts over here. So really appreciate that. Thanks to them for letting me have a look at it. At one point, maybe it'd be nice to see the physical copies too, just because I know folks love their physical copies, and it's important to be able to, see it, get a hold of it, all that good stuff. We will see. Such shall come in time. So I guess maybe ultimately, if you're interested in the book, they gave me a link. It's not a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not an affiliate link. I don't get any money off of it. I think I mentioned this when we looked at something before. It was one of their Kickstarters had a preview. I mentioned, hey, if it does interest you, if you could use the link, because at least that will show them that they came through my channel, and therefore maybe I'm someone who's okay to talk to. I think the same thing applies here. I have a link. The one that's in the show notes here goes to the Kobold Press site. It's not an affiliate link as far as I know. No money changing hands on it, but it does at least let them know that if you're interested in it, then you got it from here. And I guess I will say the caveat, obviously, they sent this to me for free. They don't have any say over what I'm going to say. They don't have any say. They don't get any say over what I'm going to say, because I don't even know what I'm going to say until I say it, because I haven't looked at this before just this minute, and I'm doing this live. So nobody knows what I'm going to say before I say it. Therefore, there's no kill switch on their end to cut my internet connection short and kill the stream if I start to say something horrible. I doubt that's going to be the case. I have one of the Tome of Beasts. I want to say I have Tome of Beasts 4 somewhere. One of the things that I didn't have a chance to really look at so much, because I know there's a whole history, because I know I went to drive through. There's a Tome of Beasts 1 over there, but that one's from 2020. I don't think that's the first one, because I'm pretty sure my Tome of Beasts 4 is from earlier than that. There's been a number of these Tome of Beasts. I don't know the history or how they cycle through the nomenclature, or what's new. If you have Tome of Beasts 1 from earlier than this year, I don't know what the differences are. And if you have one that's earlier than the 2020 version, I really don't know. So I looked a little bit on the Kobold's site, and I couldn't see any kind of breakdown of it. But there it is. These are for the 5th edition, by the way, in case you're wondering, which is the first time I've done a 5th edition book in a while. I'm certainly glad to look at stuff from folks outside of Wizards because of the late unpleasantness. I was thinking also before I started, what am I looking for in a monster manual? Of course, if you're here in the chat, I'd love to hear what you're looking for in a monster manual. And I think ultimately, right, it's variety in terms of the monsters themselves. You can never have too many monster manuals, but at some point, I suppose this is less true digitally, but certainly with physical books, is I end up grabbing one, maybe two at the max. Like I'll grab the monster manual, and I'll grab Fiend Folio, or maybe I'll just have Fiend Folio on me. So whatever book I have on hand, physically or digitally, I want to have a variety in there so that I can find different stuff. So if I were to have Tome of Beasts and I take that to my gaming group to play somewhere, suddenly I need something I didn't expect. It's not so specialized, a tome. I mean, there's a place for that, a book of dragons or a book of whatever. But for the most part, if it's like a big book, I want it to have variety there. Hey, Magnus, Terrence says the late unpleasantness is what they'll put on his tombstone. Well, hopefully that's not for many, many years, Terrence. And this is a swig of What is this? Oh yeah, blood orange tangerine spindrift for the working man. So I want a variety, and I want to be able to have a good index, or at least something index, call it what you will, index tables, whatever. So I can find monsters in various ways, because I may alphabetical is fine if I know which monster I'm looking for. I need a black dragon. Let's just say, okay, D for dragon or B for black. Probably D for dragon. Great. But then maybe, well, I need something in 5th edition terms. I'm looking for something that's CR6. Well, then alphabetical, that's all I've got, doesn't help me. I got to start flipping through until I find something CR6. So some kind of breakdown by CR, or if you're OSR ways, maybe HD, something like that would be helpful. Hex crawling, if I could get it by terrain, also be nice. Oh, you're in the woods. I need something. Let me find some good woodland creatures. Oh, you're in the desert, whatever. Also nice. And those are all good things. Now I can see here in their appendices, they have an appendix: creature by challenge, creature by type, and creature by terrain. So those are all good. We'll get to, let's go to the official table of contents. So the table of contents is laid out alphabetically. So that is the primary layout. And then we have these appendices in the back, which will break it down different ways. Magnus says their favorite parts of monster manuals are whenever they provide templates or clear guidelines for customizing or building monsters. That's another good one. Yeah, if you have a system, especially if you're like the first monster manual for a system, like Monster Manual 1 for whichever version of D&D you like, it is nice to be able to have some rules. I know that I think, is that in the Monster Manual 5th edition? Is it in the DM's Guild? Is it in the DM's Guide, or is it somewhere else? But I agree. Yes, having some kind of, hey, here's how you make a monster is great. Even if it's just for new GMs, because one of those tricks, it gets spread around a lot, so it's not really a secret, is the look for the thing that's kind of what you want and then just skin it to be the thing. So you need some kind of whatever, it's not there. Oh, but it's kind of like an Etten, let's say. So okay, let's look up an Etten and then just turn it into what you want, kind of thing, is a good hint. But even just stuff like that, helpful, because there's always going to be new GMs looking at for, or even if they're not new players who are new to GMing, not new players, but just new GMing, it's always a nice thing to reiterate. And of course, if you have mathematics formulae, templates, also super, super good. Oh yeah, Magnus points out the 3.5 edition had all those things like, yeah, infernal, demonic. Yeah, those were great. Dire, you could add the dire keyword, what you do, make things into undead. I have that book. I think I went over it. I did a video about it, did a stream about it ages ago. I forget what it was called, but it had a bunch of those templates. It was complicated. Making a monster using the guide in 3.5 or 3rd edition or 3.5 was complicated, but it was kind of neat. So let's take a look at these appendices, and then we'll go grab some monsters. Let me know if I need to zoom in. I probably do. This looks like it's pretty small when I'm fully zoomed out. So I'll zoom in like this. So here we have challenge rating. So we have creatures by challenge. That is good. So I need a CR3 monster, and these are all these are internally linked. That's great. So we get a bunch of those. And then we get types. Types, I don't know that types is as important to me. It's nice to have, I think. So we have all our aberrations, beasts, celestials, constructs, elementals. I suppose those are good, because if you needed someone, somebody, there was, you're riffing on some kind of encounter. Oh, they're summoning a fiend, and you're like, okay, and then suddenly maybe you expected the party to stop the summon ritual. For some reason they don't. Suddenly you're like, geez, I could use a fiend right about now. Well, you can come roll and get one, or you need a fae, or you need some nice oozes or some undeads. Those are all good. And then we also get terrain, which is something I like a lot. So you get the terrain, and you get and you get their CR, so that you could look down and you can kind of see where you need, right? Oh, I need a Badlands creature, and I want it to be about 7 or 8. Well, CR, well, there we go. We've got 2, the caustic, or actually a few: caustic charger, Chelicerae, ogre, corrupted chieftain, and a sand spider, or a Quillion. The only thing I think is missing from these that I would like is these are not linked, and there's no page numbers. That might be the only thing I like. Man, a little bit I would say, ooh, we've gotten those linked and page numbered in, But otherwise, excellent that you can. So if you're in a pinch, the other thing is maybe to put numbers on there if you need to roll, but obviously then you'd want to make sure it's in some kind of divisible die number. But still, you can come down and say, yeah, I need something in the grassland, so you can find something that fits. I guess the die roll is not as important. I'm thinking I'm probably gonna lapse into OSR isms, but yeah, in 5th edition, you're more likely to be picking for narrative reasons than to be rolling on a table. So it's probably having it at tabular level isn't as important. But that's really good, including urban. All right. Excellent. So I'm going to pick, we'll go through a few of these. I'm not going to go through, obviously, exhaustively checking out each one of these monsters. That would be way beyond what I've got time to do. We'll go back to the table of contents. I want to look. There's only one of them that I said I would absolutely look at. This one. So I'm on, if you're not on Mastodon, some of the other social media, by the way, that kind of federate social media, you should get on there. There's some good conversations. I'm friendly on Mastodon with Tim Egan, who wrote, wait, which one is it? No, he wrote, what are you? He wrote the Cluricon. So he hit me to this yesterday when I posted that I was going to be doing this probably today. He said, be sure to check out I think you'll like the Cluricon. I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, I wrote it. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So definitely want to look at this one. Man, how can I get that gig to write a couple of monsters for somebody someday? Magnus says a 3.5 also rather infamously made quote unquote Death Knight into a template, which meant you could take any player NPC class and make it a Death Knight. Cool idea, but you do lose the unique Lord Sothy vibes. Yeah, I agree. I thought that having those kind of templates was cool, and I like having them. It's a neat way to think about it, because then your party can also learn something. So if dire means something, not just it's a word, but it means something about the beast, then they can learn from it, right? So if someone's calling something a Death Knight, or maybe you can come up with another word that kind of means the same thing, maybe something that's more as a titular, or maybe like dire's kind of an adjective, some kind of descriptor, then it's not just a mechanical thing that you're applying on your side, but when they hear that as a rumor or something says, ooh, this thing is Death Knightly, it's like, oh, that tells me something about it, which means that they have reasons to build up knowledge about these things, and then they have outputs for it. Because if just go back to dire, if dire always tells you it's kind of bigger, bolder, angrier, harder hitting, all that stuff, and then someone says, okay, we're running up against, I don't know, a wyvern. You're like, okay, we get wyverns. Hey, maybe that's not that big of a deal, unless there's too many. But like, no, these are dire wyverns. Now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that changes the calculus. It's kind of becomes almost that way of building context, right? So if you run into these dire wyverns, you have been warned through the naming that it's more than just your average, smarter than your average wyvern, son. All right, so here's the Cluricon. And this, I like the art's nice. Looks a little bit like what's the guy from Tintin? I forget the captain's name, but is that a grass hat? Let's read we've got some italicized text, which I guess is kind of flavor text. Then we have some more paragraphs, it looks like, with kind of headers or headings that are talking about little parts about it. We'll go through the whole thing. Then we've got a stat block, and then their various actions and whatnots and what for. So for the Cluricon, around a corner in the wine cellar stumbles a tiny surly man carrying an open bottle of wine. He has a bushy beard and wears a rumpled red overcoat over a dirty white shirt and knee-length red trousers with blue stockings and silver-buckled shoes. A cap made from leaves stitched together with gold thread slouches atop his head, and he reeks of stale beer and wine. So that definitely gives us the image that we have here. Drunks in the cellar. Cluricons are mean-spirited, alcohol-loving fae that plague butteries and wine cellars. These drunken fae were once leprechauns, but they long ago forsook a life of toil for one of solitary debauchery. Nice. Now they spend every night drinking, warbling off-key, and tormenting their hapless hosts with cruel pranks. However, if the Cluricon's host keeps him or her well supplied with a favorite libation and otherwise leaves him or her alone, the Cluricon protects their wine cellars from thieves, drunkards, or worse. becoming quite vigorous when they feel the security of the cellars is threatened in any way. They have a particular hatred for rum gremlins, oh boy, and for other cluricons. Now, so that's drunks in the cellar. So the next bit is contest evictions. Most people can't tolerate or afford a cluricon's presence for long. Unfortunately, attempts to drive them off usually result in the spiteful cluricon going on a destructive rampage and spoiling any remaining wine. The best way to evict a cluricon is to challenge him or her to a drinking contest. A cluricon can't abide losing to a mortal, and if defeated by one, slinks away in shame, never to be seen again. This is a risky option because cluricons can drink prodigiously with little ill effect. So does that mean we're doing it? Is it a drinking contest? Is that what we're talking about here? So you can offer to do one of those shots until you drop kind of thing? Let's see. Small brawlers. Let me just zoom myself out. I feel like, whoops, out. There we go. While cluricons aren't averse to an old-fashioned tavern brawl, they rely mainly on their magic to protect themselves. Creatures under a cluricon spell feel and act as if they were intoxicated, complete with hangovers the next morning. Well, that's sucky. You get you don't even get to drink. Well, I suppose it's free. I suppose you could. What if you tied up a cluricon and you wanted to get drunk, but you didn't want to drink, so you just have your you compel your cluricon to give you that drunk, whatever that drunk power is, and then because it's no worse than getting really drunk, and it's free. So there you go. So okay, so now we get down to the stats. Cluricons are tiny fae. They are chaotic neutral. They have an armor class of 14, which I guess includes their luck, and they got 22 hit points, aka 4d4 plus 12, and they have a 30-foot, I guess, walking speed, running speed, movement rate. Strength 13, Dex 12, Con 16, Intelligence 10, Wisdom 8, Charisma 16. Saving throws are Con plus 5. They've got Perception and Stealth in terms of skills. They're immune to being frightened or poisoned. They've got Dark Vision out to 60 feet and a passive perception of 11. They speak Common, Elvish, and Sylvan. Their challenge rating is only a quarter, so they're worth 50 XP, and their proficiency bonus is +2. So Cluricon's luck is that while the Cluricon is conscious and wearing no armor and wielding no shield, it adds its charisma modifier to its AC included above. That's kind of a nice ability. I like it because it kind of encourages the Cluricons to be in their little suits. Can you imagine if you came out and one was all armored up? That would be kind of funny. Magic resistance. The Cluricon has advantage with saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Now, in terms of what they can do, they can have their actions. They've got an improvised weapon, melee or ranged weapon attack, +3, bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing, depending on the weapon. Okay, so they can basically just take something. Maybe it's a bottle of wine. Maybe it's one of those casks. They have a slam attack. And yeah, it's pretty good. And then they have something called Body Remark, which is a ranged spell attack. Does psychic damage, and the targets must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be incapacitated until the end of its next turn, as it doubles over in laughter or freezes up in embarrassment. Target's choice. Okay. And then let's see, spell casting. Cluricon casts one of the following spells, requiring alcohol as the only material component, and using charisma as the spell casting ability. And they've got at will, mending, purify food and drink, and then once per day, blur, heroism, and suggestion. So where is that drunken power? I guess that's that Body Remark, which means you're either laughing or you're embarrassed. That's cool. I like it. It's very flavorful. And what's the word? I haven't read them. I know people love that. What is it? The monsters know what they're doing kind of thing. And those are good books. And I did a couple of videos. I always meant to do more. I think I only did to do one. Maybe I'll come back to it about kind of, on a similar wavelength as the monsters know what they're doing. I don't feel like you need a book or my video to really take advantage of that. And why I bring this up now is because when you see a creature like the Cluricon, Brian Smith, I half expected to see my AI face on the Cluricon. I could have done that if I looked in here. Brian Smith, I don't look at the books before I do the stream. Otherwise, if I was scrolling around, I might have done it. But I think you can really just get a long ways by just looking at their powers and abilities. Something like the Cluricon, if it's just a combat creature, that's all it is to you. Sure, it could be a laugh, right? Maybe if there's a few of them and it doesn't say how many there's supposed to be. It kind of seems like they should be basically solo, because it seems like they claim basements or wine cellars and then kind of want to keep it to themselves. So I can't imagine it's going to be more than one. They're not really challenging in that way. They're not going to provide much. And if you're looking at it going, boy, I want my party to face a gang of Cluricons, you're going to be getting yourself in hoops. Either there's going to have to be a bunch of them, or you're going to have to do something else. My point being that these really, you shouldn't look at this as a combat encounter. These are great for, if you think about it, your social kind of things. This is a great adventure starter. You go into your local inn, and the innkeeper comes to you and goes, listen, can I talk to you on the side? Or maybe, you start a little more subtly. Let's just say, okay, we're going to be on the subtle tip. Or you go into the tavern, and you order your drinks, and some people go, and I'm going to have whatever. And the innkeeper or the bartender comes to one of you. Maybe if one of you ordered wine specifically, or maybe one of the finer ales, and he comes and he goes, yeah, we don't have any. But he's giving you kind of a look or something. You're like, we don't have any, but can I talk to you for a minute? Can you want to come here? And so the bartender takes you aside and says, listen, I don't want word to get around. We don't have any, because we got this Cluricon down there, and it's threatening to turn all our ale sour if we don't let him gorge himself on this particular spirit. And so you go, okay, so now the party could go down and just fight it, right? But maybe the bartender's like, look, I don't want any fighting. Right? I don't want you to fight it, because I don't want it to destroy all the ale. I don't want, who knows, whatever stuff. Last time you guys tried to help me, you burned down my establishment. We got to figure it out in a different way. But now the party has to go down and has to talk to the Cluricon, which gives a great way to play up on the fact that it's this kind of drunken thing. Maybe it has play some pranks on the party, but then you can get in some great adventure ideas as well. What could the party do to get this Cluricon out of here? Now, the party could say, hey, listen, we will supply to you some other type of beverage if you'll leave this guy's ale alone, which is fine, but that puts the party on the hook for continually providing some other sort of beverage, which is a great potentially ongoing adventure thing. Or the party can go, you know what, there's a jerk down the road who we really hate. Why don't we get you into his basement? You could be his problem. You leave our guy alone. Also could be something to do. But that's where this monster, to me, fits in. Not so much in the, well, I need 4 CR, CR quarter creatures. Cluricon, let me just throw them in here and just have them cast some spells and then die rather quickly. I guess, you know what I'm saying? Like, I invite you to look at these things and look at what they're about, and look at kind of how they fit in, and look at them outside of combat. And I know there are all these resources for, like, hey, like I said, the monster knows what they're doing, and that's great. But I think that if you just look at them, like, I don't think you need a video, or you need someone like me, or you need a book or a blog post to tell you about these. Just read them. If you just read through them and you think, okay, they're like leprechauns, they're pranky, they protect basements, whatever, then I feel like you get a sense of what they're about. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to get on some kind of soapbox about it, but often I find that people end up just looking at them for combat. And I feel like this is really true in 5th edition, and kind of ignoring maybe the fact they shouldn't be fought. Like when I did the video, the one I did it on was I did on succubi, on the succubus creature, and that was certainly something I tried to bring across, is that this is not a creature who should be fighting one-on-one in combat. If it ends up in a combat situation with you, it's done something horribly wrong, because it's not good at that. All its powers are geared around manipulation and all these kind of subtle maneuvers. So then you should take the hint and say, okay, it's all about subtlety. Then maybe this thing shouldn't be trying to fight you head on. Same thing with the Cluricon. If 5 angry heroes armed to the teeth come down into the basement to kill you, like, that's when you're hiding. You're waiting until they leave, and then you do something mean and nasty. You don't come out and fight them, because that's not going to help you. That's just going to kill you. Brian Smith says, great lighthearted hook or quest giver to be found in a tavern. Absolutely. Or in like a ruined tavern. Maybe there's a down on their luck Cluricon, and you could help them out, and or in your, if you have a stronghold and you're afraid, or you want to have somebody guarding your own winery, if you can supply them with booze, then you can get a Cluricon, or maybe a family of Cluricons. I don't know how that works together. Let's go look at a challenge. I'm going to go maybe by CR. So that the Cluricon was CR 1/4. Let's go pick one from, I'm not going to do every CR, but maybe we'll pick another one. And of course, if you see one in the chat, if you're in the chat and you see one as I'm scrolling around here, flailing about, and that you think looks like fun to read, then let me know and we'll go read it. Brian Smith says, could also be a fun thing to hint to if the group shows up at a tavern regularly and the bartender is nervous about fulfilling an offering to avoid the clericon, like an inspector. Yeah, totally. You could have a lot of fun with it. It could be an ongoing NPC. I mean, I guess the ultimately is there's a lot of possibilities there. They just probably don't revolve around combat for that kind of creature, or at least not the combat that maybe you're most used to. And if you're open to that, then a lot of these creatures will show themselves as being more useful than they might appear if all you're looking for is, well, I just need a challenge for 5 guys to kill in my latest arena encounter kind of thing. We got something called a Raven Folk Warrior. I guess it's some kind of, oh, wait a minute, Goat Man. I got to go see Goat Man. Even though I'm jumping up to CR3, I got to move him over. Nope. Why does it keep clicking? Whoops. It seems to be taking me to one page past the page that I want. Well, here's the picture. He definitely looks goaty, somewhat mannish. All right, Magnus says Elf, Shadow, Fae, Guardian sounds dope. Okay, we'll do that one next. Goatman and then Elf, Shadow, Fae, Guardian. Other folks, if you have a vested interest in one of these entries, post in the chat. So, Goatman. This hunched man-like figure lurches with a strange half-hopping gait. Tattered clothing hangs from its muscled shoulders, and its legs are those of a ram, ending in cloven hooves. All right, so we got a nice little image there. Trespassers on the rights. The first of the Goatmen was the victim of a powerful curse intended to punish him for spying on magical rites exclusive to the women of his tribe. Admiring the grotesque result, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young adopted him as its servant. Ooh, I like that. I don't know who that is, but I like it. And let's see, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young adopted him as its servant and ensured that all who committed the same taboo fell to the same curse and thus into the black goat's service. Cool. So it started off as a one-off curse. Then whoever this lovely black goat of the woods with 1,000 young decided, like, I like that. I'm going to have everybody doing it. Bleeding speech. A goat man's head is tusked, adorned with curling ram's horns, and its beard often drips with gore. Ugh. Rows of transparent, needle-like, malformed teeth fill its mouth, making clear speech impossible for goatmen. Okay, so you're not going to be getting into a lot of long conversations, and you probably want to keep a little bit of distance. You don't want to be a close talker with a goatman. You're probably going to get some gore spittle on your face. Doesn't sound very nice. Serve foul cults. Cultists of Shub Niggurath, or the Black Goat, in good standing, are sometimes granted the services of a goatman. The creatures guard ritual sites, visit settlements to capture or purchase suitable sacrifices, and perform certain unspeakable acts with cult members to call forth ritual magic. I really like this detail, and I'll tell you what, it makes me want to think, if you have druidic types in your game, could there be, not necessarily evil ones, because this clearly seems to be a creature that's cursed and evil, but it would be neat if some different kind of animal humanoid creatures could come to serve you. Like, instead of getting him followers, like, oh, here's a little fighter follower. It's like, no, you're a high druid. You've gotten some, I don't know, owl bear thing follower guy coming along. Magnus says that Black Goat of the Woods, Shub Niggurath, is originally an entity from Cthulhu mythos. I don't know if it's Lovecraft original or Smith or Derleth. Oh, okay. I know Shub Niggurath. I didn't know that. I had not heard about the Black Goat, or maybe I just misremember, because I have read all the Lovecraft ones at some point or another. But, so I appreciate that. Thanks for smartening me up. Okay, so the Goatmen, they're medium, the Chaotic Evil, AC 14. I'm not going to read I'm just going to go down to the stuff that's interesting. If you feel the need to hear all the attributes listed out, then, buy the book. They are immune to being charmed or frightened. They've got some dark vision. They can understand common, giant, and trollkin, but they can't speak. As they mentioned, they're CR3. They've got a charge attack. They have a 40-foot speed, and if they move at least 20 feet straight forward towards a target and then hit it with a slam attack on the same turn, the target takes an extra 4, aka a D8 of bludgeoning damage. So they get kind of a charge. Well, they call it charge. So it's not kind of a charge. It is a charge. And then if it's a creature, they have to save or be knocked prone. They have a multi-attack. They can also bite, and they've got that slam. Slam. Da, 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 da. Let the goatmen be goatmen. All right. Cool. Short and sweet. Now, these guys are definitely kind of fodder. If we were talking before about the I'm gonna butcher that name, what, the Kulikon or whatever, the Kilikon, the drunkard leprechauns being very much of a non-combat. These are like the thugs, the heavies that the various evil cults will summon forth, or their evil gods will bring forth to them to do their bidding. They can't really talk. They're just there to bleat and run into people. But their presence, here's the thing though, right? If you roll this up on a table, oh, my party's going to fight 5 goatmen. I think it's incumbent on you to figure out, to understand who these goatmen are, what they represent. They don't represent just some dudes in the woods. This is a cult. This is the sign of a cult, or these are the enforcers of a cult. These are the sidemen, the henchmen to evil, foul cults. So that should be meaningful. All right, let's find those elves. Should I close this? No, I kind of need it. Iala in Midgard, Edemu, Einherjar. Here we go. Elf. Oh, goat evasion. Aha. What is their goat evasion? I don't know. That's a good one. Let's see. What one did Magnus wanted? Shadow Fae Guardian. Okay, there's the Shadow Fae regular. Got a Shadow Fae Duelist. Shadow Fae Forest Hunter. Here we go. So there's the picture. Looks like a big boy. Shadow Fae Guardian. Is there an intro here for Shadow Faes? Elves? Okay, let's read a little bit about. To most, the Shadow Fae are a little more than a dancing shadow among the leaves. To savants, they are the creatures that taught the shadow dancers all they know and kept many secrets to themselves. They were once elves like all others, dwelling in mortal lands beneath the sun. An ancient catastrophe drove them to darkness, and now they are creatures of the shadow. Though they can be found on the material plane, they are inextricably tied to the plane of shadow, and that is the seat of their power and culture. Their bond with darkness allows the Shadow Fae to slip through distant spaces, traversing darkness itself from one place to another. Shadow Fae superficially resemble other elves, but they're rarely mistaken for their light-bound cousins. Skin tones among the Shadow Fae range from alabaster white to ebony black, with shades of gray in between, but they otherwise lack color. A few have a scintillating shimmer to their skin. Many Shadow Fae grow horns that sweep out from their hair, varying in size from subtle nubs to obvious spikes. Others have shocking sets of teeth. Okay. So I'll leave that there. And Magnus points out about the goatmen that they're not only signs of occult presence, but it seems even the attentions of their malign deity. Yes, though that might be more removed. I mean, yeah, totally could be. Right? We know from their description that they're given over. A deity is kind of assigns them, sends out these goatmen to serve the cult leaders. So we don't know if it's just the cults there, and because they had these goatmen that were gifted however many years ago are still hanging around, or if it's something that an evil god's still doing. In either case, they should be not just, if you're using them as just fodder, I feel like you're using them wrong. If you're using them just as, I needed an encounter here, so we're just going to have some goatmen randomly, I think you're using them wrong. I mean, if you want to just have them as goatmen, just say these are just goatmen, I guess. But part of what I think the thing that makes them interesting is the fact that these should be the clues that, oh my gosh, there's an evil cult operating here, and probably at a high level if they've got these goatmen around. So it's more than just a couple of guys in robes. These guys have taken it up a notch. So now we get to the Shadow Fae, the Guardian Shadow Fae elf. A bulking brute, this elvish figure towers over his fellows and wields massive weapons. Patches of his body are swallowed by inky blackness that writhes and crawls, and his eyes are hollow black pits. Oof, that's an interesting image. Grim, we should say. Shadow Fae Guardians are massive creatures trained and bred for battle. They appear as massive versions of Shadow Fae, but the stuff of shadow corrupts them even more than their brethren, expanding their size and power to an ogreish strength. Patches of shadows swallow parts of their body and crawl about, revealing and obscuring more by inches at a time, revealing and obscuring more by inches at a time. They stand nearly 10 feet tall and weigh over 700 pounds. Loyal protectors. Guardians are fanatically loyal to their superiors. Employed as house guards or even personal bodyguards for an important shadow fae, guardians are unshakable in their duty. The shadow reaches into their minds and souls so that not even powerful magic can bend their hearts or break their resolve. Guardians are independent thinkers, but they discharge their duty with single-minded dedication. All right, so that's cool. Shadow Wizard Money Fae. Okay, so we have the Guardian. They're large. They're neutral evil. Let's see. They've got some athletics. They're immune to being charmed or frightened. They got some dark vision. They speak Common, Elvish, and Umbral. They got Fae ancestry. They got something called Shadow's Vigil. The Guardian has advantage on wisdom perception checks, and magical darkness doesn't impede the Guardian's dark vision. They're sensitive to sunlight. Bryce calls him Danzig Fae. He does have a little bit of Danzig. He's definitely heavy and definitely metal. Has multi-tech, has a pike and a javelin. And as a bonus action twice per day, it can do something called Shadow Traveler. While in shadows, dim light or darkness, the Shadow Fae disappears into the darkness and reappears in an unoccupied space it can see within 30 feet. A tendril of inky smoke appears at the origin and destination when it uses this bonus action. And then as a reaction, it has protective interference. When a friendly creature the Shadow Fae Guardian can see within 5 feet of it is the target of an attack, the Guardian can impose disadvantage on the attack roll. To do so, the Guardian must see the attacker and be wielding a melee weapon. Was there anything else there? So that's cool. I do like that they have, the Emerald Eye. I do like that they've got a whole series on these Shadow Elves. So it'd be very easy to take this concept of the Shadow Elves and say, ooh, I really like this. And in this book, you've got a whole bunch of different Shadow Elves to play with. So if you like this, you've got regular Shadow Fae. Then you've also got the Duelist. And you got the Enchantress. You got the Shadow Fae Forest Hunter. It's kind of like they've given you all these different classes for the Shadow Fae. So the Guardian kind of fighter, Forest Hunter definitely your sort of rangery, maybe roguey type. Your Enchantress magic user. The Duelist could also be kind of roguey or roguish, bardish, depending on your version of bard, maybe even also kind of rangery. And then you've got your regular, which maybe could be anything. So that's cool. So you have, it's like they've given you the group. It's like you've gotten it's like when you go and you buy a collection of little figures or something, and you get one for each team member. So you got your whole team there that you need. Magna says these Shadow Fae seem way cooler than the Shadow Kai, but maybe I'm just biased against wizards. I like the looks. I like the looks of the Shadow Kai. I don't remember the lore too much. So you may be right in terms of the lore for the Shadow Kai, but I kind of like their look. I like that they looked a little bit different. They looked a little bit meaner and more monstrous, I suppose. But yeah, those Shadow Fae were cool for sure. What else we got? Okay, so let's look at a high level one. Let's go Lodge. I also noticed there's an appendix with NPCs, so I want to touch on that also. What's the highest CR we've got here? I'm not, and if you notice, I'm not trying to analyze these in terms of, oh, is this balanced for whatever CR? I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's all about, is it evocative? Is it interesting? I think going back to what I think about in monster manuals is the monster evocative? Does it seem interesting? Is it giving me something, especially at this point with all the monster manuals and books of monsters we have? Give me something a little bit different than maybe I've had before. A little bit different angle, something interesting about it. And so I would think that so far, I think these have passed that. They're not monsters I've seen a bunch before. Sure, there are other Shadow Elves, Dark Elves, but I like that they gave us a bunch of them. I like they're different. The idea of the living sort of shadow thing is pretty cool. I like it. I like the drunk leprechaun whose name I'm forgetting was cool. The goatmen were good. I feel like it gives me ammunition or material to riff on if I were to roll that up on a table, or I just need something and I go to Goatmen and I can quickly read through. It gives me some things that give me ideas, because I could see throwing out Goatmen in my campaign and then reading like, ooh, these are cult member or these are things that are assigned to cult members by their deity. I'm like, okay, now I got some great ideas, not just for this encounter, but something that, what can I build afterwards? What kind of context can I give? And those are all things that I'm looking for, especially because I might not use this in 5th edition, but I could easily see taking these and converting it to whatever system, because the important thing for me is that it's giving me something that I don't have myself. It's giving me, filling a gap in my arsenal. Magnus quoting me that I don't remember the lore too much, making his point, probably. Okay, Brian Smith wants to know about a mordant snare. Where was mordant snare? Oh, let's see. Mordant snare. Ooh, look, it looks like that thing from that latest Suicide Squad movie. So here we go. So the mordant snare. The ground rumbles and a gigantic starfish with 11 arms rises from the earth, grasping at nearby prey. Mordant snares were created by war mages of ancient times. Each resembles an immense 11-armed starfish weighing 8 tons, and yet a mordant snare is never obvious. Instead, it controls a dozen humanoids shuffling about aimlessly, paying little attention to their surroundings. It's definitely, they definitely must have gotten it. I know there was a name for this DC creature that shows up in the latest Suicide Squad movie. Go watch that Suicide Squad movie if you're interested, but was like this starfish. It didn't have a giant mouth like this. It had a bunch of eyes, I think, but it had similar mind control kind of powers. Starfish puppet masters. Snares bury themselves under loose soil to attack creatures walking above them. After killing a humanoid, they inject acid into the victim's body that liquefies organs and muscle while leaving the skeleton, tendons, and skin intact. With the body thus hollowed out and refilled with acid and filaments, the mordant snare can control it from below like a puppet. That's grisly. Brains preferred. The mordant snare prefers intelligent food and hunts until an area is empty of sustenance. A village can suffer tremendous losses or even be wiped out before discovering the cause. However, a mordant snare is intelligent enough to know that escaped victims may come back with friends, shovels, and weapons ready for battle. When this occurs, the snare abandons its puppets, burrows deeper underground, and seeks a new home. And then finally, cooperative killers. Mordant snares are few in number and cannot reproduce. That's interesting. Since the secret of their creation was lost long ago, eventually they will disappear. Until then, they cooperate with each other when in the same areas, using puppets to lure victims to one another. Oh, so they're endangered. You know, you gotta don't feed but don't kill the mordant snare. All right, so it says, I love DCC Sailors on the Star of the Sea because of the gnarly beastmen and goatmen creeps. And Ian says, yo, we hoarding kobolds in here? Maybe. Magnus says, between the movie Prometheus and the SCP versus Fifth Church, Starfish have been completely ruined. I don't know about that second one, but if you definitely want to see it, though, the mordant snare or whatever, the starfish creature in that Suicide Squad, it's pretty cool. I didn't love that movie. I didn't really like it all that much, but the starfish itself is pretty cool. And if you want to visualize something like this, except with take out the mouth and put in lots of eyes, and it didn't burrow. It was from outer space, and it does things a little bit differently, but I feel like they kind of took that concept and just kind of tweaked it, which is what you should be doing anyway. So good on them. But it give you a nice, interesting look at it. Okay, so the magic. Oh, see. So this one is where's the CR? Does it say? I'm sure it does. I'm just not seeing it. It's armor class 18. It's got a burrow speed, 248 hit points. Where is this? A challenge is 15. 15, so it's worth 13,000 XP. It's got magic resistance. It's got the puppets. It's got multi-attack. It's got a bite. It's got a tentacle. It has an acid spike and a hidden trap, which is while underground, the mordant snare covers itself in dirt, sand, or other material and lurks just below the surface. The mordant snare is indistinguishable from the ground around it while motionless and covered in this way. When a creature enters the mordant snare's space, the snare can make one tentacle attack against the creature as a reaction, removing the covering material. Is there more? Yep. Oops, there is. Just down. Nope, it's not. Oh. Oh, I guess. Oh, I missed the period. Removing the covering material. Okay, so it can basically make it. It can get an attack in there, but then it's going to reveal itself. That's fine. Okay, where are we on time? We're doing good. Let's go. So that was what was that, 13? What's it that there were some ones that are really at the top end here? So the Demon Lord challenge CR27. I'm going to skip that because I feel like Demon Lords and Dragons, they're fine, but we kind of know about them. I want to, let's see. Got a Giant at CR22. We have some Fae like the Courts, high-end Fae at CR21, a Shoggoth, and a Giant and a Cave Dragon at CR19. Some more Fae Lords at CR18 with some more Dragons. Let's see. Okay, so CR17. The only one I know these I'm not really familiar with just as a concept is this Urokar. Magnus wants Valkyrie. All right, let me do Urokar, and then we'll go back and get Valkyrie. It's always putting me one. I don't know if it's just because the way I'm doing it. I don't know if it's the reader or the PDF, but it seems to consistently, when I click to go to the page numbers, it puts me one page forward of where I want to be. I'm not sure why. All right, we'll look at the Valkyrie after Urokar. So the Urokar, it's another weird thing. This giant crimson leech slithers upright on 4 muscular tentacles. At the top of its writhing trunk, a great lidless eye glows with baleful orange light, surrounded by quivering feathered antennae. Well, that's definitely creepy. Underworld wanderers, sometimes fearfully called strangling watchers, the Urokar are among the most dreaded monsters of the underworld. They have long plagued the drow, grimlocks, and other humanoids of the deep paths. Are drow... That's not a wizards. Wizards doesn't have the rights to drow. Drow are Creative Commons or whatever. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Sorry, I had my keyboard in my lap and I accidentally was trying to get me to Valkyrie, but it's not ready yet. We're doing Urokar and then Valkyrie. Back you. Okay, here we go. I did not know that drow were, I don't know, either covered by the OGL or what, but that's interesting. Maybe I just assumed it was a wizards thing. Let's see. Okay, so we got that. Okay, there. Yeah. They seek out death and dying all the way to the banks of the river Styx. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Devour the dying. Urokars feast on the final moments of those caught up in their crushing tentacles. Though powerful, Urokars are quite passive. They watch the life and death struggles of other creatures and take action only to drink in a dying being's final moments from a nearby crevice or overhang. And they are immortal. Strangling watchers are effectively immortal. Gargantuan specimens in the deepest reaches of the underworld are several millennia old. Ryan Smith likes the cut of their jib. All right, these guys are CR17. They're huge. They are, let's see, got a bunch of hit points. What's special? Mind-rending death. When the Urokar dies, it releases all the fear it consumed in its lifetime in a single mind-rending wave. Each creature within 30 feet of it must succeed on a DC 19 charisma saving throw or be frightened for 1 minute. Frightened creature takes 14 psychic damage at the start of each of its turn. A frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. Oh, Magnus says, or the cut of its gibbering. Bum. Let's see, rubbery body. Where's my, I have some sound effects I never use. There we go. Rubbery body. The Urokar's body is rubbery with few bones, allowing it to easily move through any opening large enough for a medium creature. It can squeeze through any opening large enough for a small creature. The Urokar's destination must still have suitable room to accommodate its volume. It can spider climb, and then it's got some attacks. It's multi-attack, it can tentacle, it can paralyze with its gaze, and it's got a strangling grasp. I always forget about having it. I don't have very much right now. I got an awe. And then I got some organ play. But I always forget about them. I need to find some other ones. Be good to have. All right, so that was the Urokar. Oh, it did, and it's also got some kind of hidden step. The one thing I'm going to say here, especially given the challenge rating, I don't like this mind-rending death. Oh, it's not that I don't like it. I like it a lot. It's way too lenient. This thing should be, here's what I would have is this thing is going to go out 30 feet. I mean, this thing that could be alive for millennia and all the fear that it's eaten up, and you just can be 31 feet away and be essentially unaffected. Not on my watch, sir. Not on my watch. Instead, what I would have is that mind whatever is going to go out, I would say every 30 feet, the DC drops by 1. So if it's DC 19 from 0 to 30 feet, DC 18 from 30 to 60 feet, DC 17 from 60 to 90, and so on and so forth. But that thing is blown out. Why is it only go 30 feet and it just suddenly stops? No, sir. I want that thing to be rippling through the underworld, and you're going to feel it. And if you're hundreds of feet away, maybe it's even if you end up being too low a DC to suffer for it, you're going to feel that thing hitting you, not 30 feet away, and it just stops like it hit a wall. No. Brian Smith says, I thought they were immortal. Well, they're immortal if you don't kill them. It's like Highlander. They're Highlander immortal. You just got to cut off something and then they'll die. I need a Wilhelm Scream. I have a Wilhelm Scream somewhere, actually. I don't have it loaded up, but I think I do have one saved somewhere. Oh, Pottery Smash should be good. Yeah, some kind of smashing. I got to find some. I want to make sure that they're, free to use. I actually had to pay. Believe it or not, my elevator music, I had to buy the rights for it. I don't know when I downloaded that music that's in the during the countdown. It was somewhere that was set up. It's like, this is free. And then I ended up getting dinged with somebody saying like, nope, I own it. So I ended up actually buying that. The hidden costs of the channel. I didn't feel, even though it's easy to remove and just basically I could just, it's just during the countdown, but I like the music. And so I bought the rights to that one piece. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but still it was an expense. You feel like donating to the cause. No, it was just an expense I wasn't looking for when suddenly I was getting these like, oh, you're using our music. I'm like, I don't know. I've been using this for quite a few years. It feels like anyway. And nobody cared. And suddenly somebody cares. Magnus says immortal and invincible are two different things. Yes, they are. It does say effectively. Yes, it doesn't say absolutely. It can be killed. They just won't die. Here's the Valkyrie. Ooh, this is an interesting creature. So normally I think of the Valkyries, I guess classically what are they, winged horses, or do they have wings themselves? I actually don't remember. Do they just fly, Valkyrie? I don't remember. This one's riding like this is straight out of, I feel like you could go to, what's one of those stores in the mall and find this on a black t-shirt for Hot Topic. This is like a made for Hot Topic setup here. Wolf, wings, warrior woman, some ravens, tiger imports. Yeah, totally. So here's the Valkyrie. These warrior women, armed with cool-looking swords, sit astride massive winged wolves. Each of them is as beautiful, graceful, and fierce as a well-honed war axe. Choosers of the slain. Valkyries are sent by Odin to decide the course of battles and harvest the souls of brave fallen warriors. Riding winged wolves, use the statistics of a winter wolf with a flying speed of 80 feet and a neutral alignment. They visit battlefields to do their master's will, surrounded by crows and ravens. Valkyries remain hidden among the ravens during these missions, acting only when fate decrees. Love battle. Valkyries love battle and bloodshed, and their presence on the battlefield inspires warriors to great acts of valor and heroism. Neutral parties. Valkyries seldom interfere in mortal affairs, save to ensure the proper course of battles. When duty demands, as a punishment, or when they fall in love, a Valkyrie may wander the mortal world. It's a sad story. Magnus says Valkyrie on a Pegasus was in the MCU, but they play fast and loose with the old mythology, to say the least. Yes. I mean, I think that's definitely the image that comes up first, unfortunately, for me, or, just unfortunate because, yeah, you're right. They do play fast and loose. I just don't remember. I had a book of Norse myths when I was a kid, and I've had them various on and off, and I really love the tales of Loki and Thor and all that, but I confess that the particulars have not stuck with me, just kind of the general feel. Kobold apparently is saying you could have a Valkyrie girlfriend if somehow they fall in love. So cue all the bards in these games honing their lutes. Let's see what's interesting. They have an aura of valor. Friendly creatures wielding weapons within 30 feet of the Valkyrie have advantage on weapon attack rolls and ability checks. At the start of each of its turns, the Valkyrie can choose to exclude any number of friendly creatures from this aura. No action required. Immortal nature. The Valkyrie doesn't require food, drink, or sleep. Okay, they got some magic resistance. They have radiant weapons. They got multi-attack. They have a longsword. They have a spear. They have a radiant bolt. They have a gaze of doom. The Valkyrie's gaze foretells a doomed fate for one creature the Valkyrie can see within 60 feet. The target must succeed on a DC 16 Wisdom saving throw or be frightened for 1 minute. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. And then it's got a healing touch. Oh, the healing touch. And it also has an ascension reaction. When a friendly creature the Valkyrie can see and within its aura of valor is reduced to 0 hit points while engaged in melee, the Valkyrie can reincarnate the creature as a gladiator. Oh, that's interesting. If the gladiator reduces at least 3 creatures to 0 hit points within 1 minute of its reincarnation, it transforms into an Einherjar. The Valkyrie can provide ascension up to 2 creatures each hour with this reaction. Well, that's cool. I guess we should go look at what an... Oh, there's the Cluricon. Thank you for... That's the name I couldn't seem to get on the back on my tongue. Oh, I like that. The Cluricon that's in a drunken stupor because it was dumped by its Valkyrie girlfriend. We're putting it all together. We are putting it all together. Okay, so I guess we should look at the... What are you doing on time? I definitely want to look at the... Do they have Gladiator on here too? It'd be nice to go through those steps. They don't. Don't seem to have a Gladiator. Or would that be under men? Man Gladiator? No? No Gladiator? I feel like there should have had Gladiator, because what does it mean to be transformed into a Gladiator? So I guess we'll just have to go to that Einherjar thing, which is Einherjar. A line of stout bearded warriors with golden auras stand ready, adorned in chainmail and carrying battle axes and oaken shields. Their badges and symbols are all different, and no two have the same braided pattern in their beards. The Einherjar are great warriors chosen by the Valkyries. They eat and drink their fill of boar and mead each night, and then spend their days preparing for Ragnarok. Some of this is combat training, and other portions are raids against the giants fighting the gods. Regardless how often they are slain, the Einherjar reappear each morning in Odin's Hall, leaving them without fear of death. They are defenders of the mortal world. They fear dragons. Why are they fearful of dragons? Because of the world serpent connection. But I guess that's interesting. It would be nice to... I'm sure this is coming out of the mythology, so I don't mean this as a slight to Kobold Press, because I'm sure they're just getting that from the mythology. But I'd love to know, especially in a game, right? Okay, so we've just gone through saying how they could be killed as many times as possible, and they're just going to come back the next morning. So what about dragons they fear? I guess it's superstition, but I'd like to know, okay, so it's superstition, but what is the superstition? I'd kind of like to know, because that's an interesting plot point about these. Like if you were to come up against an Einherjar, could you scare them away by talking about your dragon, lying about your dragon, what your dragon might do? And, I'd like to know, well, what about dragons scares the Einherjar? Or is it just, well, because they're kids of the world serpent? That's about it. And then in theory, they never speak to the living. They're CR7. They've got a battle frenzy, a fearsome gaze, and runic weapons. And they can multi-attack you, battle axe, with a battle axe, celestial bolt. And they can also use a celestial blessing to either give Odin strength or Valkyrie's mercy. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Before we close this up, let's look at NPC. So we have some different, let's see. This appendix contains statistics for various humanoids, from dastardly bandit lords to city watch captains to fiend-powered devil-bound gnomes. Wow. Okay. So here are some NPCs. So, okay, so this is basically our humanoid-ish peoples. That's right. Yeah, those Einherjar were definitely the protectors of pride. Absolutely. So we've got bandit lords, Black Knight commanders. Oh, maybe we'll get these are nice, because you always need some guys in town. Devil-bound gnomes is certainly interesting. It's always good to have some guys. You may be in town. You may just need like just a kind of not ordinary, but I just need some people. And here you go. Dwarven ring mage, elvish veteran archer, emerald order cult leader. He's definitely emerald. Oh, a kind of an Egypt-themed scorpion cultist. Wolf Reaver Dwarf. That's kind of cool. And that's it. All right, so that's a nice selection. Well, there you have it, folks. What did you guys think about it? I thought this was really good. I think the only thing, well, there are two things I would love for a next printing. I mean, they're both, I mean, honestly, really, I just kind of nitpicks. I'd love if when you're picking by terrain, type has it where they're linking. Terrain, they're not linked. And if they're not going to be linked, well, there's no reason the PDF other than work for them not, but I'd love if these were linked. And then if I was going to have this in the print copy, I'd love to be able to just give me the page numbers. So if I'm, granted, it's not super bad, or not, it's not a lot of work to go and then, oh, it's Elf, Shadow Fade Guardian, let me go find it, but I still have to find it. Whereas if you could just put, PP, P36, P68, P122, just to help me out. I think you could probably fit those in there without adding too much in terms of messing up the tables in terms of just the length. So I would have liked that. And then the only other thing I think of in terms of negatives is just that they say you turn into a gladiator, but then they don't actually tell you what a gladiator is. And maybe that's in another book, maybe that's in a core book, but I just would like to have that contained because I'm going to get into a situation where it's like, oh, great, this thing's happening with this Valkyrie. Oh, great, turns me into a gladiator. And now it's like, I say to the player, oh, wait, this happened. Okay, the Valkyrie brings you back. It says it turns you into a gladiator. The next thing that player's going to ask me is, okay, great, what can I do as a gladiator? Because I want to kill 2 guys in a minute or whatever it is so I can become one of these other things. And then it's, well, I got to kind of dig it up and find it. And so I wish would have liked if you could just thrown it in there so I don't have to look at the table. Magnus says that having environment tables including CR is really nice. Yes, and those are the only 2 things I can think about. I didn't see any typos or anything, which always tend to attract my eye. The layout is very nice. The artwork is very nice. There's seems to be a wide variety of critters, and it has your. And I think one other thing that's also is worth mentioning, which is good, and when I talked about at the beginning of what I want of a monster manuals variety, it's also nice to have your basics, and they have them here. You got some elves, you got some dwarves, you got some dragons, you got some giants, you've got all these things. So if this was your one book, you only had access to the Tome of Beasts, you've got a little bit of everything. You have some weird things, which we saw, and we have some kind of ordinary things, and you need them all because you don't know when an encounter is going to take place. You might need an encounter that's just some guy on the highway or in the town, and you just need some stats. You got that. Oh, now you need something that's more exotic. You've got that. You need some stuff that's maybe out in the wilderness. You've got that. You need stuff in a dungeon or in some kind of cave in the underworld. You've got that. So all good. And I like that it's very clearly laid out. Everything, some more nice artwork. Everything makes sense. Everything is good. Now, obviously, this is kind of a read, right? And 5th edition is not my primary system, so I obviously know how to read it. I know what stuff means, but I'm not. If you're coming to this video and you're thinking like, I'm going to break down how this stuff's balanced, is this stuff balanced well, and if this CR thing is worthy or not, then well, you're not getting that here. I'm the things that are interesting me is the content and what I can do with these. How useful is this to my campaign? The other stuff I'm not concerned about in terms of, I'm just not, just as a general rule, I'm not that concerned with the balance. If you're playing in a game of mine and you're worried about balance, you're worrying about the wrong things because that balance ain't existing in that way. But nothing seemed to be horribly out of line. We looked at a few things across the CR spectrum, and it didn't seem like I saw something at some CR level that seemed wildly out of place. And I just have faith that they probably did a very good job there. But the stuff that it seems to have in spades is character and utility in terms of variety, basics, navigation, other than not having the page numbers on that table or having it linked in the PDF. You got many ways to look things up, which is good. You can look up by type. You can look it up by terrain. You can look it up by CR. And then, of course, you have alphabetical. So I think it's going to pretty much got you covered. I want to thank Kobold Press again for allowing me to get a hold of this. You can use the link that's in the show notes to grab this from Kobold Press's website. As I mentioned before, it has a reference on the end of it, which will let them know that you were sent there from me. But it is not, as far as I know, it's not an affiliate link. I'm not getting any money back from it. But if you did like this and you're like, ooh, I would like to add this to my collection, if you could use that link, that just lets them know that sending it to me wasn't a total loss. Whatever. Sending me the digital copy wasn't just throwing virtual money away, that kind of thing. and maybe if I can work their way up to getting a hold of physical books just so I can show them to you, because I know that, like I said, people love those a lot. But this was a really fun read, and I wish I knew a little bit more if the question comes up about, is this different than the Tome of Beasts that you might have if you pick this up in the last couple of years or before that. I don't know offhand what they've updated from this one to the next one, but it was a lot of fun. Brian Smith says, balance be dang to heck. Magnus says, Giant might be able to strangle all the heads at once. Giant versus Hydra, who wins? Oh, Hydras are tough because all the heads. I don't know if a Giant could get all the heads. I guess it depends how you're running it, right? Because with 8 heads, does a Giant even have enough attacks to get all the heads? This is a nice thing about kind of OD&D or chainmail. When you get to be, a superhero, let's say, and you have 8 attacks, you could potentially get all 8 heads of the Hydra in one round, or at least have a good shot. If you've got a couple of fighters, you could potentially take out a Hydra. It's really hard, depending on the other system. Double headlocks, 4 in each arm. That's the kind of battle I want to see. All right, folks. Well, let me know in the comments how you guys, if you guys have had this. I'm not aware. I don't know if it went through Kickstarter. I have no idea. It is. You can definitely buy it now, and there's some different versions too. So you can definitely look if you go to the Kobold Press website. There's several different covers, and I think they have some really nice versions of the hardback. If that interests you, it looks pretty cool. They have one that looks, I don't know if it's leather bound or whatever. It has kind of a cool look to it. I think they range from like $30, the printed copies, and I think the sort of more designy whatever ones are like $80. I think, I'm not sure. Magnus says about a pro strategy of fighting Hydras: don't cut off the heads, try to suffocate them. That's a super interesting approach, but I don't know if someone's carrying around that many large plastic bags to get all the Hydra's heads in. But if you can manage it, maybe you can get that done. I'm not sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. We shall see. But if you give this a thumbs up on your way out, that would be awesome. Magnus, if you want to suggest a book to look at from drive-thru, sure, drop it in, or you can send it to me elsewhere. But yeah, if you want to drop it in real quick, just send the title. I will look it up. If you give a thumbs up on your way out, that would be amazing. If you found yourself in here and you're not subscribed to the channel and you feel like subscribing, that would also be amazing. Other than that, folks, have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Magnus, just shoot it to me. You can put it in the comments or wherever, or if you drop it in. Because I think depending on Nightbot, it may not let you drop a link. So if you can drop the name, or you can shoot it to me anywhere on social media where you can find me, or in the comments of the video or anything like that, I will find it from you. Oh, you have a suggested book thread on Lemmy? I haven't been to Lemmy today. There's been busy, so I'll go check that out. And yeah, go to Lemmy. What are we? The OSR / NSR something community on Lemmy. If you want to go check this out, if you're looking for a Reddit alternative on Lemmy. Also, you can find me on Mastodon as Hexed Press and on Twitter and that stuff. But yeah, Magnus, if you're not on the Lemmy, go find the OSR / NSR community. It's the one that's on lem.ee. And join up. You can also send it that way. Okay, it's called Flextail Hexcrawl Toolkit. Oh boy, that's quite a name. All right, I will grab that out by Infinium Game Studios. Cool. I will give that a look. All right, folks. Game on, and I will talk to you later. Bye now.